You don't expect to find new things in old houses, particularly when you've lived in the house for a decade without any surprises. But one Tuesday in November, while I was putting summer junk into storage, I heard soft crying from the corner of my basement. "Jenny?" I asked, setting my unopened beer back in my emergency cooler. "You know you're not supposed to be down here." The crying stopped. I was worried my daughter had followed me down. The basement was crammed full of all of the odds and ends we couldn't fit into the shed and dotted with the occasional rat trap. I'd killed a snake down there back in July. Overall, it wasn't a place I wanted my 4-year-old to hang out. "Jenny," I said, moving towards the dark corner where I'd heard the sobbing, "Daddy's not mad, but you shouldn't be down here." The basement was dim, spacious, prone to mild flooding. A single light bulb hanging from a chain cast angular shadows throughout the room. The shadows seemed darker today, especially around the back corner farthest from the stairs. That was where I'd heard the crying, where I walked, confused. There was a shape hidden in the dimness, a profile in the corner. The thing was larger than my daughter. "Hello?" I asked, stopping several feet from the corner. A sudden coldness took me. I was afraid. "Please," the shadow in the corner said. "Please, help me." It crawled forward and my fear began to change to concern. First, a hand emerged from the darkness, pale and slim. Then an arm, a graceful shoulder, a slender neck. Finally, a face, striking and familiar, though I was certain I'd never seen her before. That was as far as the woman came into the light. It was far enough for me to see she was beautiful and in trouble. On second glance her slenderness verged on starvation, her deep blue eyes frightened, her black hair a tangled mess. Her torso and legs remained hidden in the dark. I worried she was injured, maybe there was an accident. I took a step forward then froze. "How did a strange woman get into your basement? Why is she?" My eyes locked with hers and all questions fled my mind. Her irises were huge, blue as the ocean in January and heavy with pain and need. "Please," she said again, in a familiar voice I knew I'd never heard before. "Please, help me." "How? Are you hurt?" I did my best to peer into the shadows over and around the girl, to see more than an arm and face, but the dark was stubborn. Some reptile slice of my brain prevented me from getting any closer. "Help," she said, staring up at me. "Hungry." She did look hungry. I could see a hint of ribs under her arm, her collarbone stuck out clear and bowed between shoulder and neck, her cheekbones sharp as barbershop razors. "Call 911. Call somebody." Those eyes again, catching me like a spider from a tunnel, driving my thoughts far and away. "Okay," I heard myself answer. "Let me find you something to eat." The girl stared long, head tilted, then finally blinked and smiled. She had lovely teeth. I felt unstuck when she blinked. My feet were my own again and I backed towards the stairs. "Just wait here," I told her. "I'll just wait. I'll be back." "With food?" she asked. I didn't trust myself to speak, so I nodded and took the stairs 2 at a time. "Sarah." My wife was in the kitchen, pen in mouth, bills and checkbook on the table. "Did you use the visa last week?" she asked without looking up. "I'm seeing weird charges." Jenny was sitting at the nook, coloring in her new book, watching the rain tap the window. "I don't think I used the card," I lied. "But not important. There's something in the basement I need you to see." The absurdity of the situation was settling in. A pale, starving girl in the basement. It seemed more likely I was losing my shit, but on the off chance I wasn't bonkers I needed second-party confirmation. "I cannot wait," Sarah asked, gesturing at the papers in front of her. I stood staring. "It's something you should see, though." Sarah tilted her head. "Have you been?" She made a drinking motion, Again. Sarah was giving me her concerned look, the one that shared a fence with her Ep1. "Hi Daddy." Jenny called, waving from the nook. "Hi Jenny," I replied, suddenly feeling exhausted. I turned to my wife. "Never mind about the basement. It's not important. And no, I haven't." "Haven't what?" Jenny asked. "Haven't forgotten that you're my favorite girl," I said, winking. "Don't tell your mom." Jenny giggled. I opened the fridge. "Don't ruin your lunch," Sarah whispered as I walked downstairs into the basement carrying some deli meat, cheese, and grapes. "Just a snack." The basement seemed darker. There was a haze settled over everything. When I closed the door at the top of the stairs, the room was immediately pitch black. In the corner, a soft blue-white glow beckoned. It was the woman. She'd crawled farther out of the shadows so that now only her lower half was hidden. Signs of malnutrition etched her body like scrimshaw. Her skin stretched tight against her ribcage. I thought I saw small tears like a frayed sweater. Dark blue veins wove across her, horribly apparent against her pallor. Everything about her was shriveled and pathetic. Everything about her was beautiful, hard to look at, painfully gorgeous. "Hungry," she whispered. I descended the stairs and set down the food on the basement floor in front of her. "She doesn't look at it." "Not that," she told me. "Can't eat that." "Then what?" I asked. There were tears in my eyes. "You know. You've always known." I shook my head. "I won't." "You can't." "I won't let you." The girl in the corner stared at me a moment, then crawled closer. As she pulled more of her body from the shadows, I could see that her torso ended not in legs but in slick, red tendons and ropey intestine. Her insides spilled out behind her, coiled together into a thick, wet thread that trailed back lost in the dark. She reached a hand to my face, gently brushed my cheek, then wrapped her hands around my throat with an impossible grip and pulled me towards her. Then we were moving, then somehow we were falling into the blackness behind the girl. We should have hit the wall of my basement, but there was no resistance, only darkness and the sense of free fall. I couldn't scream, her hands locked so lovingly, so tightly around me. After what felt like hours, I began to see light. It was the girl, glowing, eyes locked to mine. All around us, new lights began to pop up one by one like new stars waking. Our free fall gave way to floating. I remembered vividly the one time in my life I'd gone night diving. As we drew closer to one of the lights, I saw that it was another glowing person, a boy this time, handsome from the torso up, a torn ruin from the waist down. He, too, trailed a grisly thread behind him that stretched away into the dark in the same direction as the line connected to the girl. When we drew close to the boy, he smiled, then darted forward and took a small bite from my shoulder. This time I was able to scream because the girl took one hand from my throat to wave the boy away like she was shooing a fly. So many lights floating around us, lanterns in a pond, and I could not help but shiver any time we drew near one. Eventually, I could make out a new shape in the gloom. A massive shadow, taller than any building I'd ever seen, 100 stories or more. It had its own glow that grew brighter as we came close. It was a tree. The girl that held me was tied to the tree by her gruesome thread. All of the lights seemed linked to the tree, strands ending gnarled in the branches, held like marionettes on a string. When we drew near enough to see the tree clearly, I began to thrash and fight, to struggle as best I could. Please believe me. I did everything I could. Everything. The tree had red-brown bark, rough and pitted. And in the bark, I saw mouths. Hundreds of mouths, millions. They were every shape and size, some grinning, some panting, some frowning. The mouths were filled with teeth, perfectly white in some, rotted and broken in others. Some mouths were massive enough to swallow a bus and others tiny enough to bite a finger. I closed my eyes and clawed at my ears. The mouths laughed and screamed, but most of all they whispered things no one should ever hear or know. We drew right to the tree, the girl and I, next to one mouth the size of a wood chipper. Hungry, the mouth told me in the same voice I'd heard in the corner of my basement that morning. The girl grabbed my arm and stretched it out towards the mouth. I fought, yelled, felt my shoulder dislocate from the force of my panic, but I might as well have been trying to fight the tide. My hand went into the mouth halfway to my elbow. The pain was like nothing I'd ever known. In an instant, a piece of me was gone and I watched the mouth chew, taking its time, savoring. I whimpered, then shrieked as the girl began to pull my other hand towards the mouth. Wait. I screamed. God, wait. 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 Wait for what? A smaller mouth asked from above us. Hungry now, another mouth called from below. Don't take any more of me, I pleaded. I can help you. Help? The girl asked. She started at me with her ocean blue eyes. I felt the blood from my torn arm drip warm against my side. Feed. I'm writing this on my laptop in my basement. The glow of the screen is the only light. It's not easy to type with one hand, but I'm adapting to my new reality quickly, I'm proud to say. The woman in the corner is sleeping. You know, big meals and naps. My arm is doing well if you're wondering. Burned shut and cauterized, can't be too safe when it comes to infection. I was lightheaded from the blood loss, but the girl jabbed one of her threads into me and now I'm feeling right as rain. Better than I have in a long time, actually. When she's awake she tells me the most incredible things, like how there's a new star in the sky, a red star. The girl tells me about a coming cure for everything. But most of all she talks about a hunger that's waking up all over the world, and that's what she wants me to tell you about. Keep an eye peeled, would you, for more like her. Check your basements, your attics, your old sheds and crawl spaces. Look to your hidden places and dark corners, you might just see a pale man or woman, hungry and in need of your help. I've got to go now, I can feel the girl stirring through the thread, hungry again already? My wife was so annoyed when I asked for her help, so reluctant. And she really overreacted when she saw my arm. But I know my daughter will be excited to finally be allowed to play in the basement. Jenny, honey, I called. Could you come down here? Daddy needs you.